Guys, look, Bitcoin's above $20,000, but do not get comfortable, okay? We still have to know what's going on. We still have to follow the news and understand what's going on in Bitcoin. As you guys know, institutional investors are jumping in the space at a crazy rate. All their friends are basically in a get with it or get left behind situation. Also, breaking news, we have this actual proposal from FinCEN, aka the Department of Treasury. They're coming out with a proposal to actually KYC or know your customer or identify people that don't have custodial wallets. So basically the wallets that are not have to do with like centralized exchange. Right now, if you're on Coinbase or Binance, you have to KYC, but the other wallets like your MetaMask or potentially, your Ledger, might be forced to KYC, meaning they're going to get your information and understand how much cryptocurrency you're sending, buying, selling, etc. So what am I going to do about this regulation? What does it mean for Bitcoin? And how much money are these big institutional players adopting? Keep watching. What's going on, everybody? Alex back with another cryptocurrency video. Yes, news, super bullish. Super bullish. All of you should know that. It's above $20,000, very strong too, above $20,000. Right? Institutional players are joining in. I'm going to be detailing all the companies that are doing that and the reasons for it. We'll go over all those today. Also, I'm going to go over the regulation that recently potentially can come out as a bill, can be passed, maybe. We'll see exactly what that means for cryptocurrency. Guys, if you give me the 2,000 likes, I will make more Bitcoin news videos like this so that we can understand what's going on in Bitcoin in a more rapid pace, right? I'll probably do 1 to 2 videos a week. So again, give me the 2,000 likes. And if you haven't already subscribed to the #1 cryptocurrency channel on the internet, honestly, I don't even know what you're doing. Do us both a favor, hit that subscribe button, as well as the push notification bell so you get videos like this all the time. We talk about money. I try to keep things down to earth, and I never lie on the internet because lying was not, never, ever was a good marketing strategy. Let's jump into the videos.
Listen, I mean, let's say I just am somebody whose pension fund has now, a 0.5% or 1% allocation to Bitcoin. Should I be comfortable with that?
Well, I mean, look, I think having a small allocation of Bitcoin is something almost everybody should have. But at the same time, it's really thinking of it as a call option. The point of owning gold is because you want to have a store of value. The point of owning Bitcoin is that it could become gold. And so we don't know exactly if that's going to happen. It's possible it might not. But on the other hand, it's been around now for 12 years. It's lived through a lot of turmoil, a lot of tests. It's the best example we have of digital gold. And what we've seen through COVID is that people's lives are more and more digital.
So this is a really good point here. Let me stop the video at 54 seconds. It's basically talking about market maturity. It's becoming more mature. It's 12 years old. A hedge against the dollar. What's going on in the government? We all know this. Bitcoin is an ecosystem and it has grown and is no longer a fad. I want people to understand that because fads don't last 12 years. And for the people that still think it's a scam, guys, like, it really is a get with it or get left behind scenario. If people like Twitter, Jack Dorsey and all these big people are investing in cryptocurrency, there's no way it can, be a Ponzi scheme. I mean, there's a chance, right? There's always a chance for everything. But people are waking up, guys. It's no longer a fad. Simple as that. Let me keep playing the video.
Store of value. And just as importantly, everyone has seen what's going on with the Federal Reserve balance sheet, and people are looking for ways in which they can protect their assets. And so Bitcoin is an example of one way to do that.
Absolutely, Charles, although it's interesting to me that in some ways it's quite simply the herd mentality where people realize, okay, there's going to be 21 million of them. Bill Miller made this great point. He said, there's 47 million millionaires in the world, and there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So in other words, if every millionaire on the planet just wanted one, they couldn't get it. There's not enough. So
yeah, so she made a really good point. And she's basically saying there's like a lot more millionaires in the earth than there is Bitcoin. So if you own a Bitcoin, you will be above millionaire status if Bitcoin ever becomes the world reserve currency. That's really important. A lot of people, their goal is to get 21 Bitcoin so you could be, 1 out of a million people on earth. That's interesting to, that she actually knows that and talked about that on CNBC, because that's some FOMO type of news, guys. Seriously, people are going to FOMO after that.
Well, I mean, look, that's certainly one way in which the price goes up. You get a lot of people buying something that has a finite amount. But on the other hand, there is some fundamental relevance to what's going on here, which is that there is a need for a store of value. There's a need for a purely digital store of value. And that's what Bitcoin represents. And so there's, of course, other ways that could happen. And it doesn't need to necessarily be Bitcoin. But so far, nothing has come along that's better. And so this is a real chance to own something at the early stages of a transformation. And really, you're going now from an early adopter community to the mainstream. And I think that's partly what PayPal enabling this for their users is bringing to light. There's maybe 40 or 50 million people that were involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem up till now. And instead, we're going to go to something that looks like billions of people over the next year. That's a huge shift.
Yeah, big step. A lot more people jumping into cryptocurrency. He's basically explaining, the things that we already know, but that's on a big level, guys. They were having so much news, like so much positive news about Bitcoin. More news. So from Zari, as you can see here, this is publicly traded companies with Bitcoin. They have a ridiculous amount, guys. They're just buying and buying. Let me tell you a story. So Grayscale is coming out with all these different trusts. Now they have Zcash, XRP Trust. They have the Stellar Lumens Trust. Look at how much money's in their Bitcoin trust, guys. That's $13 billion, okay? The Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is absolutely, amazing. And Ethereum's actually taking off too. A lot more Ethereum's being acquired through the Ethereum Trust. So a lot more growth in Grayscale, right? Not only that, but this is, public Bitcoin treasuries. Look how much money is coming from large institutional investors, guys. Look at Galaxy Digital Holdings. This is $386 million, right? Look at Square. Look at Square Cash, right? This is probably the reason why PayPal recently adopted Bitcoin, because it's like a get with it or get left behind scenario. I keep saying this over and over again to everybody that, business is competition, right? If you're competing with another business and they're doing something that's extremely profitable and you don't acquire it yourself, you literally get left behind as a business. And this is going to happen to more and more institutions as people start coming out with how much money they made. Now, this is public companies. Keep in mind, every one public company, there's probably 10 more that are private holding Bitcoin, because Bitcoin still has reputational risk. Big institutions are buying Bitcoin right now. That's the more of the story. Let me show you some more evidence on Google Trends. I know I show this time and time again, but if you go to Google Trends and you just type in Bitcoin, you could see that there's not a lot of retail adopters. They're just now kind of getting involved, right? So if we go over here to the past, let's say, for example, 90 days, you could see that we're having a little spike. Let's go to the past 5 years, right? There's a little spike there, but it's nothing compared to like its all-time high. Notice, this spike just recently happened, meaning retail adoption, people like me and you, I haven't really got into Bitcoin yet. It's more institutionals. Let me explain the story a little bit more. This is just another example of crazy adoption. This is by CoinShares, okay? This is like the second biggest from my understanding. Look how much Bitcoin they have. Look how much Ethereum they have. They're adopting at a rapid level. This is Square's, or Square, Cash App, whatever you want to call it. Jack Dorsey runs this company. He's the CEO of Twitter. As you can see here on October 7th, 2020, they purchased 4,709 Bitcoins. They've purchased about $50 million worth of Bitcoin. And this was in October. They made a ridiculous amount of money, which caused things like PayPal to start offering Bitcoin services. PayPal's offering this. And look, just PayPal and, Cash App alone, or the Square Cash, or whatever the case is, they are just acquiring all the money, guys. They're taking away all the Bitcoin from the supply, as you can see here. The volume increased substantially when they started buying Bitcoin. So, Cash App, Square, whatever you want to call it, all of these institutions will start adopting just for the simple fact that their competition's adopting and they're losing market share to their competition. It's as simple as that. They're in it to make money, guys. People don't have emotions when money's tied. And being the fact that Bitcoin has recently made a lot of people money, they're FOMOing. They're FOMOing just like you guys. And then Apple Pay comes out with some news where you can actually buy Bitcoin with Apple Pay. Apple Pay, guys, you can see how this is coming out. This was not the same case in 2017. It was not even close like this. It was not regulated in no way, shape, or form. No major institutions were accepting of cryptocurrency. They all thought it was a scam. Now that's changing completely. They're putting it on their softwares, guys. Pay attention. And for the final news, Elon Musk is tweeting again, talking about Dogecoin, talking about Bitcoin, making, this funny meme here, and then some people recommending him to change his company balance sheets to be calculated in Bitcoin. A whole bunch of Bitcoin news coming out. If Elon Musk is coming out now, there's something to be said for sure. He's looking into it a little bit more. He might not be 100% bullish. Look, as you can see here, Bitcoin is almost as BS as fiat money, but I will tell you that he will, adopt it. He's a technology, enthusiast. He's a futurist. And I'm sure if I were to guess, he's probably already in Bitcoin, probably owns a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin already. I'm just going to make that assumption there for sure. All right, now let's talk about news and regulation with Bitcoin. So I'm going to be playing this video right here. It's going to talk about some type of cryptocurrency regulator. This guy came from Coinbase. He was a Coinbase lawyer. Now he works for the government. Let's kind of piggyback off of what he's saying now. Let me play the video.
The largest cryptocurrency exchange is going public. Coinbase confidentially filing for a public offering last night, marking an industry milestone. The company did not say how it will structure its offering in particular. Coinbase has more than 35.
That's another crazy point. Coinbase is coming out with their IPO. If they didn't think they were trying to time the bull run, this would be the time to time the bull run. They're going to make the most money they've ever made in their life off the initial public offering, guys. It's straightforward. They know the bull run's right there. This is why they're doing this.
Sir, at Coinbase. Brian, thanks for being here with us. What exactly in particular has got you the most interested about the recent price action in Bitcoin?
Well, let me tell you something, Dom. I can't speak to the specific price movement, but I'll tell you what I'm worried about is that all of this is happening in an environment where we're about to have a change of presidential administrations, and there's calls on Capitol Hill to dismantle some of the regulatory protections we put in place for this stuff. So you think about the fact that my agency is trying to make it safer for people to custody in national banks. We've talked about banks supporting some of these stablecoin projects. If those protections aren't in place, I really worry about the environment for these kinds of things. So that's what I'm most focused on, is how do we preserve the safety for people who participate in that market.
So I mean, the perspective that you bring is interesting. You've been on the side of Coinbase before. You're now working for the government. What exactly is the future for cryptocurrencies, given the construct that we're seeing with government entities and the need to regulate this kind of environment?
Well, Tom, we're at a really critical inflection point right now, is what I would tell you. It's kind of a fork in the road. So one path forward is that we find ways of addressing money laundering risks, and we find ways of addressing terrorism financing, which I think can be done. But we make this safe for the consumers and investors who participate. That's why the banking system has such an important role to play. But the other path, which is a very real potential here, is that we politicize some of these tech issues, whether it's crypto or fintech more broadly. We politicize it by undoing all of the good work this administration has done to make it safer, okay, to make it more real. And if we do those things, as, for example, Chairwoman Maxine Waters' letter recently suggested, then I'm not sure if we have enough of a foundation to move forward here. So it's all about consolidating regulatory gains and consumer protections that we've tried to put in place here. That's got to stick around.
So how exactly then do you make it safer for not just the investors, but the people who are trying to traffic or use Bitcoin to make transactions? I wonder whether or not the stuff that you're seeing right now with price action makes it that you have to put more of the kind of compliance impetus on the companies or more of the regulatory policing on the government.
Well, there's a role for both, I think, right? So there are bad actors in the space, as there are in other spaces. And the role of the government is to make sure that markets are well regulated and well organized so that people who are transacting know that they're transacting with good people and not bad people. Part of that means that, as in any financial market, there has to be tracing and no anonymity. But part of it also is that if you hold crypto, or if you're in any other space like this, you need to know that you're not going to lose it. So that's why it's important to people that they be able to custody their assets in a bank, for example, the same as you might custody your stock certificates or any other assets that you own. And again, this is a real political debate right now. People may not realize this, but there's leadership in Congress who's urging the incoming Biden administration to roll back some of those protections, I think in the name of politics, not in the name of protecting investors.
So if that's the case, then, I mean, we're watching what's happening right now with Coinbase, trying to kind of come up with an IPO, and it's being scrutinized by all different regulators. You're in the office of the comptroller of the currency. That actually kind of implies that there's a banking angle to this whole thing. Is it fair to say that cryptocurrency is going to be considered like a banking type product in the coming years?
Well, I think the way to really think about it is cryptocurrencies are tokens that power networks, right? That's what blockchains are, is they're networks. And in the future, the role that banks really have is managing payment networks, as they've always done. Crypto is a different kind of payment network in that it's faster and it's cheaper. And Bitcoin and other tokens, they're assets that reside on those networks. But at the end of the day, all of us make our payments on payment networks. When you swipe your credit card at the coffee bar this morning, you're using a payment network. So if we clamp down on these things in ways that aren't safe, those networks can't really be allowed to go forward. And what we need to do is preserve the safety of the network while also preserving, the value of the asset. Those things have to happen in tandem.
So the point of this video wasn't to come to the conclusion on exactly, the steps to take to regulate Bitcoin in the right way. The whole point is showing how they don't even know what's going on. I mean, this is a guy that's coming from Coinbase. He can't come up with a straight answer to actually regulating crypto. What he's saying is that it's a very, very hard thing to do. So does this new proposal actually, work when it regulates Bitcoin, when you track Bitcoin, right? When you track the transactions? Are they actually able to track criminals and stop them from money laundering or doing any malicious act, right? So this report is 72 pages long. You guys can read it for yourself. This is public information. My goal here is not to read this whole for you. What I want to do is I want to get some insight from Jake. He's basically a well-known cryptocurrency lawyer, and he's kind of commenting on this proposal. But there's a couple things. I'm not going to read all of them. We're just going to go over really quickly. So the first one, after a long wait, FinCEN has finally issued a new proposed rule extending AML regulation and non-custodial wallets. It could have been worse. Okay, so that's basically what he's saying, but it's still a terrible rule in both processes and substance. So what he's saying, and I've read this for myself, you guys go read it for yourself, is basically it's not good at all at tracking people's actual balances in cryptocurrency. Let me just read some more. The rule would impose new obligations on virtual asset service providers, or VASPS, like exchanges or custodians. For deposits and withdrawals over $3,000 involving non-custodial wallets, they would have to record a name and a physical address. How are they going to do that? We don't know. VSPSs will also have to report any deposit or withdrawal over 10K to FinCEN in the form of a currency transaction report, or CTR. FinCEN says that these requirements are necessary to combat the financing of global terrorism, addressing transitional money laundering. He's saying, look at the bright side, right? This doesn't require KYC for every transaction with a non-custodial wallet. It isn't an outright ban of self-custody. It doesn't prohibit the act of using permissionless network. He's saying it could have been much worse, but he's saying also that it's an awful rule, giving you 3 reasons. First, it doesn't do anything to accomplish its stated goals. If illicit activity was a major problem, this won't stop the flow of funds to bad actors or help law enforcement to do its job. It's not going to stop the flows because they can make, actually, I think what he's saying there is they can send transactions less than $3,000 with thousands of wallets, right? They'll lose more money, but in fees, but if they have to do it, they will. Another one, it doesn't stop VASP customers from transacting with bad guys. It just forces them to pay an extra fee to withdraw their own wallet first. So it's not really helping. I think what it's used for is a way to maybe tax more people, because they're having issues with taxes. Now, again, I am not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor, and you shouldn't take any of this as so. But what it looks like is just a really bad attempt. It looks like a really bad attempt. Also, there's a couple of other red flags. You can read this article for yourself. But before, it used to be like sending Bitcoin to a wallet. Now it would be like sending Bitcoin to the VASP, and then the VASP will automatically send it to your wallet so they can track it. But the problem with that is that it's centralizing the information. So he basically shows us a report. The overall gist is that BuzzFeed News is investigating FinCEN files. It's a series called FinCEN Files. And they're basically saying that they're using SARs to avoid liability for potential illicit transactions. Big banks are using that information in negative ways. And there's also leak issues that arise. So like if they're getting all this information about people's, social security, whatever the case is, how much Bitcoin they have, who's to say that there's not going to be a big data leak or some type of data breach, right? Because cryptocurrency blockchains get hacked all the time. So this is another negative to this. Again, it looks like, and we saw kind of the same thing in 2017. They don't know how to regulate this. They're doing everything in their power. So if anything, I think it's a positive step forward, considering that we need more regulations for crypto adoption to happen. For people to feel more comfortable, more regulations is always a good thing, guys. And to sum everything up, look, guys, there's going to be new adoption, institutional adoption, things we can't understand, things I don't even understand, right, happening in the government with financial regulation. And then you also have the regulation coming into play as well. The United States is used as a standard for regulation. So if they pass something like a proposal like this or something like that, most likely other countries would adopt the same thing. So the one thing you have to know is just understand what's going on in the climate. And if you look for fundamental changes, like if there was a fundamental ban or something, then that would be a negative, news. But in this case, it's just a proposal. They're just trying to figure it out. They're putting out a public document so they can get comments. And it's not really that big of a news. It's just a good understanding of what's going on when it comes to financial regulation. So go ahead and read the report for yourself. Of course, do your own research. That's it for this video, guys. If you like the quality of this content, hit like. If you don't, leave some constructive criticism. Subscribe for more video updates. And like I always say, if you don't get with this technology, you will get left behind. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Catch you in the next one.